was little, my mother was very religious, she came from Russia, she was a peasant, and my father too, she came from Minsk, Gubernnia. And
I grew up with a mother who was very unique. Hi, I'm Linda Lilienfeld, and I'm the director and founder of Let's Talk About Water. I would come home from school for lunch, and she'd be playing the piano, and she would say, listen, sit at the piano with me. And I was just peeling potatoes, but I thought of this song. Let's sit down and sing. I said, Ma, I have to go back to school. She said, no, sing with me. When my mom and I would perform together, we were called the umbilical cords. So I grew up in a completely crazy environment.
I love the world.
She gave me a fearlessness about talking to people, so that it's that fearlessness that I approach the scientists. I became very interested in climate change from the point of view of water. Water knits it all together. If you follow the water, you can really see almost all the problems that climate change creates. And so in working together, I realized that scientists really needed tools to help explain what they were doing to a wider public, and that film was a great tool. And we created this program called Let's Talk About Water, and that became a competition. So when I hear scientists talk, and they speak in such complex language, and you understand the power of the word and the power of speaking and the reach of the tools, and especially now with social media, that you have a problem like climate change, and we have the tools to share it, it's imperative that we use them to build the bridge to the science community so people understand what is happening to them with climate change. And it really does start with her. It's a very profound thing. I don't mean to get emotional. She was very special.
Excuse me, I got a hiatal hernia, so starting to talk like Katharine Hepburn, okay? So that's it about the reason. I want to call attention to myself so that I can get rid of these feelings I have about the injustice in the social system, okay? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
If my mom were alive today, I would like that we would sing together for this program, the Bibbidi Bip Bip song, and I'll sing it just for you. I'm sending you a hug by wireless. I'm sending you a kiss by wireless.
You just saw our founder and director, Linda Lilienfeld. My name is Erin Stevens, and I'm a senior producer with the Let's Talk About Water team. I am so excited to welcome you here today, and thank you for joining us for this year's 2021 Let's Talk About Water Film Prize Awards. This is the first year that we've had a virtual celebration and ceremony in honor of all of our participants and this year's winners. But before we begin, I'd like to start with the acknowledgement that this event is being hosted by the University of Saskatchewan, which is on Treaty 6 territory on the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. We know that many of you are joining us from around the world, and we hope that you will take a moment to acknowledge and pay respect to each other as well. Just a quick note about our structure for today's program and housekeeping items before we get started. We will be on the live chat, members of our team, throughout the program for you to interact with us, ask us questions. We're here to answer them, and we'll get started here in a minute or so. But in terms of how we're going forward, we're going to have some really lovely interviews with some of the talented filmmakers and dedicated teachers who helped their students make films for this year's competition. And I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I did talking to them. We will also welcome on Dr. Jay Famiglietti. He is the Executive Director for the Global Institute for Water Security, as well as the host of our Let's Talk About Water podcast. And he's going to join us later to do the full announcement of this year's winners. So thank you again so much for tuning in today. Thank you for supporting Let's Talk About Water this past year. And thank you for being a part of everything we're trying to do to talk about water issues in the world today.
I'm Heather Reed, and I teach in the SAGE program for gifted students at Agnatoff School, Dr. John G. Agnatoff School. And so they're in grade 8, but I've had them since grade 7. And a colleague of mine, Mel Cydia, was involved in the program last year. And she spoke so highly of it, especially the resources that are available for having the kids learn about filmmaking and editing. And she said it was just a really awesome experience for them. So that's really why I got involved. On her recommendation, I'd been looking for it and I was like, okay, they should really do this.
Did you work the project into your classroom curriculum, or was it just an outside of the classroom project they worked on?
Water is a key concept in our science curriculum in grade 8. So it was a really good fit, but we actually used it to start our unit. So they came into it not having done anything in class around water. They're a particularly independent crew. So they did their own independent research and decided what they wanted to make their film on. And then we watched all the films, and then we went on to learn more about water issues globally.
And so we're here today talking about 2 of your student groups' films. So one, Bottle, and then another called Water Parallel Realities. 2 different styles of film. One is Bottle is an animated film, and then Water Parallel Realities is much like how the title describes, has these 2 our videos happening side by side to show parallel realities as they do. Yeah. What was it like for you as their teacher to watch the students like collaborate in a team environment on these projects?
Well, I do want to say I am equally proud of all my students and all their videos.
Yes.
No 2 are being recognized. Yeah. I couldn't have chosen which 2 were going to be recognized. And I think I was so proud of all of them that they did such a great job. Right. All of the groups worked so collaboratively together. They developed their ideas together. They didn't do official storyboards, but they did like the whole process and the plan. They had to figure out how to film it with COVID restrictions. Yeah. It was during a time where they couldn't meet outside of school. So they had to do a lot of their filming outside. And anytime they were filming inside, they had to do it on their own. They couldn't be with their group. So that was an extra challenge for them. And the animation group was so collaborative. They did different sections. I remember one student sitting and just animating the river. So she would sit there and just draw lines on the iPad. Wow. And they had to do it on one iPad. So like the group that was animating had to share one iPad between them. So they would kind of take turns doing different sections of it and then put it all together.
Do you remember how many student groups submitted films for
it this year? 4 or 5. No, wait, there were more because a couple people did them individually. So I think maybe 6.
That's amazing. It's really, really so cool.
And with no help from me. That's the soundbite to use.
Yeah, there we go.
No, really, they really figured it all out. And we've just finished filming our production of Macbeth because they couldn't perform for their parents. Oh. We saw these 2-minute films as also like a trial, like what's it like to make a film? How can we take those skills and then apply that to a bigger project? So they tried out different video editing software, and then they could discuss, well, this video editing software did this, because we really don't have any quality video editing software on our school computers. So they had to use their own computers, their own software, and figure it all out by themselves. And I was just here saying, that looks good.
And just let them take and run with it. Yeah. And that leads me to, if your students were awarded prizes and given prize money, we allocate it to the school or to the classroom to help fund creative projects or things like this. Do you have an idea of how you might think to use the prize monies if awarded?
We would definitely look at putting it towards a laptop that could be used for editing. It's the biggest challenge. The iPads, they're getting very fussy now, because not the iPads, but the kids about the iPads, because they're like, well, I can't do all these certain things, and I can't adjust the sound, and iMovie's great for this. So being able to have software that actually would allow them to edit it the way they want to edit it would be huge for us.
Is there anything you want to say in closing, like to your students, if they watch this video?
Because we always said that, it really wasn't about winning at all.
Right.
It was such an opportunity to have an actual audience outside of the classroom that was going to watch their films, even if it was just the panel of people that were going to watch them. They do projects all the time that we watch as a class and I watch, but that's it, right? And so for them to produce something that they knew at least a small group of people outside our classroom was going to watch, they really enjoyed that. So that's why I'm saying, it's great that they're finalists, but I was just as happy about their work before, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It totally does. And I'm
Yeah.
just glad that they were able to participate and that you know, made it a part of your classroom curriculum this year.
Yeah, it was great.
We
And they
appreciate
did it. And they did it in 3 weeks.
That is
Like,
a fast
3
turnaround.
weeks.
That is quite a
Yeah.
quick turnaround. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had the break to think about a topic. I said, come in thinking about a topic. And then we did a week of planning, a week of filming, and a week of editing.
Gosh. I would not have known that from the quality of what they produced and submitted.
And it wasn't like we did it all day, right? They period every day where they did it, and they all got them done. And so that's why I was so equally proud of all of them, because like every group finished, even my 2 that did it on their own, got it done, right? So I was proud of them.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather. And
no problem.
Yeah, appreciate you taking the time in between classes.
It's recess. I have 15 minutes. Come on, that sounds.
Hello, my name is Breach Asher Harani.
For those who haven't seen the film, could you just give a brief synopsis of what River of Gold is about?
River of Gold is a short documentary film that talks about 2 perspectives of a person that grew up in the mountain and a person that grew up in the river. So this is a story that focuses on the issues regarding the illegal gold mining in the Philippines that emits toxic waste in the surrounding rivers of the mountain. So it happened in the 1980s when the gold rush happened in Mount Diwata, the name of the mountain. And until now, the river, including Nabok River, which is prominent in the film, is still suffering from the pollution of these chemicals that came from the gold extraction from the mountains. It's really short, but it shows you how the greed for gold and the irresponsible mining can create a long-lasting impact to the surrounding resources, including the rivers.
How would you define yourself? Are you a filmmaker by trade? Or are you a scientist?
Basically an advocacy filmmaker. So I've been making films advocating on social and environmental issues in my country.
Wow, how long have you been doing that?
I started, I think, 2015. And I started with films about climate change. And then I jumped into issues regarding migration and then water, about deforestation, things like that.
What first inspired you to get started in 2015?
I decided to create a film because there was a huge chunk of our forest that has been deforested by illegal corporations. And somehow I felt, since I have this talent of creating narratives and moving images through filmmaking, so I decided that I felt like I have this responsibility to tell the story and for the people to know that this problem is happening in my community.
Could you tell us a little bit about your inspiration?
I don't really consider it like an inspiration. It's more like the frustration that I felt. This problem has been known to us for such a long time, even before when I was born. There's no action. Like the river is still like that. I'm not a local leader or I'm not a rich person that could solve this problem. But I realized that since I'm an artist and I'm a filmmaker, a storyteller, felt like I have the responsibility to share this story to the world so that the people will be aware that this problem is happening. And if they don't protect the rivers, it will also happen in their own communities, anywhere they are in the world.
What are you hoping people will take away?
I hope that people who will see this film will learn that it's not really about being rich or finding some treasures in the mountains. It's really about being responsible and protecting these water resources.
I was curious, how did you find out about the competition itself?
I think I saw it in some artistic website because I think it's fate, because when I think of a project, and then suddenly this opportunity comes up and I was like, it's very fitting. Like I should really try to get into this. So I think International Water Film Prize really came up at the right time. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening.
And have a great the rest of your day.
Hi, my name is Curtis Wagner, and I am the producer, writer, and director of 26 Years.
So how did you first hear about Let's Talk About Water, and our competitions?
So I work as a teacher in Saskatoon, and so I actually heard about it through our school division. I work for Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools, and they have a partnership with the Let's Talk About Water Film Festival, and so it was just heavily promoted in our school division. So my first involvement was to do film projects with students, and so that's actually how I got involved doing film projects with students. And so last year, as soon as we heard about it, we started working on some, really great scripts, and I had the students in different groups and did I do a film unit and kind of work through the different steps of producing a film. And so we finished, it was, probably, I guess, beginning of March, got one of our films finished, one group of students, and then COVID hit. So we could not finish any of the other student films. So they were really disappointed. I was disappointed. And then, so then all of our, in Saskatchewan here, all of our students then were basically learning from home. We were teaching online. And it kind of just I kind of got thinking about it because of COVID, all of my own children's activities were canceled. So suddenly I actually had some free time in my life, and evenings actually were not crazy busy. So it got me thinking that, hey, it would be really cool for me to actually create a film. Filmmaking's been a passion of mine since I was a young kid. So for me to be able to, write a script and direct and produce it, put a team together, was a really exciting idea. So it just kind of happened. I think just because of that extra time that was available. And yeah.
For those who haven't seen your film yet, could you just give a brief synopsis?
So our film is on the water crisis on First Nations reserves in Canada. And basically the background on that was the Canadian government had made a 2015 election promise to lift all the long-term water advisories by March 2021. So just a few months ago here. And basically these water advisories warn people to either boil the water before use, not to consume it, or altogether avoid it because it's so toxic. And basically March 2021, it came and went. And, we, at that time, we were in, basically 1 year into a global pandemic where clean water is more important than ever. And there were still 52 water advisories remaining in 32 different communities. And there's actually still a water advisory in effect that was first put into place back in 1995 at Neshkantaga First Nation. So they've had unsafe drinking water for 26 years. Hence the name of our film. So that's really where the title came from. And I guess we were just concerned. I've been concerned. It's been on my mind. Back in 2010, the UN declared that water and sanitation were human rights. And they acknowledged that water and sanitation were essential because they were you needed water and sanitation for everyone to realize all of the other rights. And I guess it's not surprising because water is so important for our health and for ending poverty. I guess it was just, to me, it was just a really troubling issue. I mean, Canada is one of the most water-rich countries in the world. We have about 20% of the world's fresh water, and it just didn't make sense to me that thousands of First Nations people lacked access to safe water. So, so I want to make a film just to bring awareness of it.
What are you hoping that people will take away from this? What's your call to action?
I am not, and just to clarify too, I'm not a scientist and I'm not an expert in the water crisis at all. I'm a citizen and a person who just is interested in bringing awareness of it. But from what I've learned, one of the big things we need to see happen is, I guess there's three main things. And one is to develop water quality regulations on reserves in Canada. It's basically with reserves right now, they don't fall under provincial law, so there's no regulations. So that's one issue, is that we want to see water regulations on reserves. The second one is we need to provide reserves with consistent and adequate funding. Right now, there's insufficient infrastructure, and there's also just a real lack of training and support when it comes to water management. So we need to really improve in that area. And then another big one is, another thing that's causing the problem is the contamination of the water. So that's it. So, really to reduce the contamination in the water sources, a lot of them are contaminated by animal feces and agriculture activity and other pollutants. So I guess that's the ultimate goal, is that, those issues would all be addressed, and that the water crisis would end, and that every single Canadian citizen would have access to safe, clean drinking water.
My name is Yuvraj Parajoli, and my film is titled Wound of Water.
Yuvraj, how would you describe yourself? Are you a filmmaker? Are you a scientist, a student?
I am a veterinary student currently in my final year, and I have a passion to filmmaking. That's how I describe it.
How long have you been making films?
I have been doing it for a few years, but this lockdown has given me opportunity to do it in a large scale or big scale.
And so for those who haven't seen your film, Bond of Water, could you just describe what it's about briefly?
It tells about the friendship between two kids who are from different strata of the society. One who is rich, and for him, the water is like an unlimited resource, and another is from a poor background, and water is more of a scarce resource for him. So it tells about the how they perceive water and how they value water.
How did you choose to do that kind of technique of two separate stories that line up together?
I wanted to make them realize where they reside, which side of the society they reside, and that was the perfect way to do that.
What made you want to participate in the competition this year?
I was lucky enough. I got to know about the competition pretty late. In fact, it was just after the deadline had been extended by a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lucky enough, and big opportunity for a small creator like me to express our idea. And thank you for that.
That's great. That's what we're hopeful and trying to do. Are you hoping to make more films after this and continue?
Yeah, I have quite a few ideas in my mind, and this achievement has boosted my confidence. Really great.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Could you talk a little bit about why you chose that issue in particular, that water issue?
This is how we grew up in this part of the society. We are a developing country, so we have observed this kind of thing in our society. So I was always fascinated by this idea of two different worlds within a single society. The primary theme of the this year water was valuing water, I think.
Yeah.
So it totally aligned. I thought it would totally align with this concept. So the water scarcity is a global issue. So anywhere people consider water as an unlimited resource, and this is a perfect way of telling that there is another world also, and they have to suffer a lot to have that opportunity. Yes. It would be wonderful if I can impact people with those messages.
My name is Rachel Cassette. I teach grade 7 and grade 8 in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan at the Online Learning Center, which was developed sort of in response to the pandemic. So it's been a new adventure for us learning online. So I was lucky enough to have a student like Shreya in my class, and I'm really impressed with her project, Protect Water, Protect Environment. And I'm just really happy to be here in support of her learning and the great work that she's produced.
I'm so curious about the Online Learning Center. I was wondering before you said that if it was something that had existed for a while or if it's a new venture. So does it bring in students from a bunch of different schools?
Basically in Saskatoon, we've always had an Online Learning Center for high school students as, as an option, even outside of the pandemic. But because so many students chose to learn online during the pandemic and was offered as a choice to elementary students as well, we developed an elementary online learning center in Saskatoon, and it is going to continue after the pandemic as well. And I think that Shreya actually had such a great year. Some students had just, the most productive year in terms of learning online, that some of them have decided to just continue with it. And she's one of them. So yeah, it was mostly developed in response to the pandemic, but will continue after. It's mostly to serve students from Saskatoon and surrounding area, but we do have students who are, from a few different areas around the province, and even a couple outside of the province. So yeah, it's quite an interesting year that it's been, for sure.
Did you say what subject you teach?
I teach half-time in a grade 7 online class and half-time in a grade 8 online class. And in the grade 7 class that Shreya's in, I teach the science, math, and practical and applied arts. And then in the other grade 8 class, I teach the science, practical and applied arts, and a couple of other subjects as well on the side. But I mostly specialize in math and science in the middle years.
So from the math and science kind of background, what made you interested in this competition as an opportunity for students that you work with?
Well, honestly, it came up in my notifications through my school email. We sort of have a system where you subscribe to notifications of new opportunities that come up. So it came to my email, and it's something that I'd been aware of in previous years as well. And, this year, because it was such a unique year, and school students had come off of school being shut down for several months at the end of the last school year, and we were adjusting to, online learning. I just felt like, I don't know if I have enough time to fully dig into this project. So it was more offered as an optional project that students could do outside of school. And Shreya, being like so into science and just so motivated on her own, like she does science fair projects on her own during a pandemic. So, and her family is really supportive, and they're all really very much into the science and the environment. So she just took it on her own. I just supported her basically in submitting it, and anything that needed to be done around it. But she really just took it on her own. Like, we had previously, the other teacher that I work with that teaches them language arts had previously done a film project with them. So they had some of the skills to be able to do a project like this. And so, knowing she had those skills, she had support at home, and I was supporting her with, the science and the administrative stuff to go along with it. She just sort of jumped right in, and I was just so impressed at the amount of learning and the quality of product that she produced, just all on her own at home. So
from the science, short films like this can have, what kind of effect do you think they can have as tools for learning?
Well, I think this is sort of two sides. Like, obviously, as a teacher, of course, I use film all the time. In my teaching, it's a great tool in the classroom. I find, especially in science, because, watching, whether it's short YouTube videos or long documentaries or whatever it is, it is, like you say, very engaging. And it offers sort of a different way for us to sort of consolidate some of the learning that we're doing in the classroom. But what I really like is it's sort of like taking a virtual field trip that can transport you out into the fields, into these different settings or all around the world, or a virtual guest speaker that you can bring experts into your classroom all through film, and in a really engaging way, and in a way that provides a lot of visuals, which, as we know, some students respond much better to that method of learning. So I think the more modes of learning you can offer, the better. So I know that with a lot of teachers, film is a big part of the way that we teach, but not only just using films as a teaching tool, but as student projects as well, like with this project and what Shreya has produced. I think it's a projects like this, you get a lot out of what you put into it, because they're cross-curricular. You're learning technological skills for, like, maybe practical and applied arts. You're, doing art, social studies, language arts, science, all those different kinds of things. And I think students, they learn a lot from whatever topic they're focusing on. They really learn it in depth, and it's a project that they're going to really remember, because they can be creative with it and they put so much into it. So yeah, I think it's a great tool for teaching, and it's also a great tool for learning and making your own projects.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to ask you and talk with you about. I know, short and sweet, to the point, but if there's anything I mean, you'd like to say in closing, like to Shreya directly, as if she were seeing this, you can do so now, or anything I didn't ask you, if you want to speak to that now, that's great as well.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll speak to Shreya then, because this is all her. So I would say, Shreya, congratulations on your excellent work in this film and on becoming a finalist in the competition. I'm really impressed with the initiative that you showed completing this project independently. And I'm really impressed at the quality of the work that you produced. And I'm just really impressed that, because in all my years of teaching, I've never really had a student who is so passionate and knowledgeable about science and who does take the initiative to, compete in science fairs and film projects, and just shows all that initiative outside of regular school time during a pandemic. I just think it's really impressive. And I think that, Shreya, you're a role model not only for the other students in our class, but I think also too for girls that in the field of science. I just think you're such a role model in that way. So I just want to say congratulations and good luck in the competition.
My name is František. I'm a researcher in water and sanitation. And I created a film that is called My Water with an NGO I'm involved in, which is called Water Science Policy. And it's a little movie about different people and their different experiences with water.
This is my water.
Das ist mein Wasser.
Amo ini amon tubig para sa balay.
Esta é minha água.
And this is my water.
Esta es mi agua.
You mentioned that you're a researcher yourself. What does your research focus on?
I'm mostly focusing on sanitation access and sanitation behavior in India and Ethiopia.
Wow, very cool. And did that research, your work that you do, play into the ideas that you explored in this film?
Definitely, because especially the two countries, India and Ethiopia, have largely different access to drinking water. And when we did the research there, we asked people about how long it takes them to collect their drinking water. And in India, it's usually a matter of minutes, maximum maybe 15, 30 minutes, while in Ethiopia, it's 5 minutes to an hour, maybe even longer.
I was wondering, as I watched it a couple of times, how you got connected with all the different, I think youth that you were working with to give voices to these experiences. How did you figure out who you wanted to talk to and how to put their stories kind of together to show that contrast?
So we wanted to cover, again, every continent to capture as much diversity as possible, which I think we achieved pretty well. And again, the large team covering the whole globe, it was quite easy. So we just gave out this call, hey, we're looking for participants. Can you either participate yourself, or do you have a friend, family member who could be recorded for this and tell this short story about their water? How long does it take them to collect their drinking water, and what do they value about water? So we gave out this call, and a lot of people signed up. Half of them delivered, so it I think ended up really well. What was difficult was the technical side of it. We created a guideline on how to record yourself, and that you have to record the audio separately from the video, because then it's easier to capture high quality audio. Plus, I think that the message is a bit more powerful when it's just the silent head, silent face, and then you hear their voice coming just sort of from behind them. So we created these guidelines, but what happened was sort of a game of telephone, because the team members read the guidelines, or I created them with another team member, and then it sort of get distorted every step of the way as it went to the producers, or as I created producers who recorded the material or hosted the segments. And what I got back was not really according to the guidelines, but it was also like a really fun challenge to just put it all together the best. And it was great that everyone tried also their best to just create the best material possible. And I couldn't be happier with how it all worked out.
Do you feel like the virtual landscape that we all pretty much had to work within this year due to the pandemic, how did that affect the project or the process for you?
Oh, it's basically the whole basis for this project. So Water Science Policy, this real NGO that's behind all this and that I'm representing here, was born during the first lockdown, and there's now more than 100 volunteers connected to this NGO. We're all volunteers, and we basically, like, most of us never seen each other in person.
Wow.
And we're just working together, creating something incredible. And the founders, they knew each other from studies, but like the rest, we just like snowballed on. never met each other, and are able to produce articles and, you know, run social media and produce short films. And again, in this film, we sort of told the story of ourselves, of how youth, but not just youth, are empowered and enabled to tell their stories better thanks to these digital technologies. And thanks to these digital technologies, Water Science Policy was born. And now we were able to tell a story of people from Zimbabwe, Philippines, Mongolia, Germany, the US, wherever. So yeah, this is basically like the whole point of how we were all forced to use these instruments for very sad reasons, but at the same time, it enabled us in a way to produce something which, in all humbleness, was pretty incredible.
Hi, my name is Justin Rosengarten. I'm the director of Away Where.
Are you a filmmaker? Are you a scientist? What lens are you coming at this?
Well, I'm definitely not a scientist. Let's make that clear. I consider myself a filmmaker. Relatively new. I was trained in film and video production about 10 years ago, diverged from that path, and got into the world of culinary and food and baking, and just recently came back into the film industry. To be honest, pretty much through the Let's Talk About Water film competition. This was my first like foray back into the process. Yeah.
I'm curious if the process of cooking, baking, if that translated any to your film making, editing.
Coming straight out of that world back into filmmaking, I definitely saw a parallel between that mode of creation in food and also the similar in filmmaking completely. Like you have X amount of tools, X amount of ingredients, restrictions, limitations, and it's really the quality of your idea and the intention that you layer on top of that, and what you do with all of it that makes or breaks the final product.
Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind your film?
I had this interest in water issues and climate issues, and that was growing in me. And also, I've been saying, I wanted to make this transition back into filmmaking. And so when I heard about the competition, it clicked, and there was almost no time between hearing about the festival and knowing that I absolutely had to participate.
I think I was curious about your use of stock footage and imagery, which I thought was really cool. How did you determine to do that?
I was limited in the resources that I had. I don't own a video camera. I have my phone, which is a fantastic tool for making films. But I decided that as part of this project, sort of on a thematic level, I was going to try and use the resources that I had available to their fullest extent, and really put all of my weight behind like the quality of the idea of the film. And the craft of putting, what I had in a certain order to be able to make it as impactful as possible. So I decided I was going to give myself limitations of just using essentially like a microphone, a notepad, and an internet connection.
What are you hoping that people will take away from this? What's your call to action?
2 calls to action, really. One was very simply just invest in a filter, which is sort of like this short-term immediate thing that almost anybody could do. I realized that good filtration systems are expensive, and that actually isn't accessible to everybody. So in that sense, buying cases of bottled water might be your short-term solution, in which case I would encourage anybody to do that if it means protecting your health in the short term. But ultimately, change does need to come from a higher level, I think.
I am Marvin Damasco from the Philippines, and I am a public school teacher in Alaminos City National High School, Alaminos City, Pangasinan, Philippines. And I am science teacher for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a really cool angle to come at this from. So how did you get to be like the sponsoring teacher for a film project? I'm curious, how has it been for you as their teacher? What has it been like to see them work on these projects, especially in a, challenging year?
For me, ma'am, it's so challenging for me to handle this because due to this pandemic, it was a great challenge in accomplishing this film. But with the concerted effort of my school administration and Alaminos City Division, the entire city supported us for making this film.
Can you talk a little bit about, why your students got involved in this? What inspired them to be a part of the Let's Talk About Water Film Prize?
Okay, yes. To expose our learners to global opportunities, we accepted the challenge of the Let's Talk About Water Film Festival and the Global Institute for Water Security. This competition has been a great opportunity for us and platform for our school and students to excel and unleash their skills and potentials in filmmaking and promote and advocate active discussion about water issues and solutions. And Let's Talk About Water Film Festival also strengthened the camaraderie of my student and I, because we all became more open-minded with regard to different ideas, may it be about our film or personal life of each other, and have been more cautious in using water.
That's beautiful. That's great. I love that there was such an opportunity for connection and learning from each other as the project went on, because it's a really beautiful film. We're talking about Sacto, the film.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was wondering if you might be able to give a brief little description about what it's about for folks who haven't seen it yet and are hoping to see it.
Yes. Our film entitled Sakdo, which in English means fetch. We get there in that film because here in our city, Alaminos City, it's a coastal area. But in this situation, we realize that there is far-flung areas here in our city that they go to the well or the river to fetch water for a long time, for 30 minutes or half hour.
I'm wondering if, in fact, your student's film does win a prize and you all awarded prize money. Do you have any ideas for how you might want to use it for the future?
Yes, ma'am. I will share you something, ma'am. So last week, the proposal of forming a media club for the senior high school student of Alaminos City National High School has been approved by our school administration. This club aims to discover and develop more students to make films dedicated to raising awareness about current issues and help them express themselves through films. Moreover, the construction of the building where the media club will be assigned will start in few weeks. If ever our film entry will be awarded any prize or money, we will be donating a part of it to the media club of our school to buy necessary equipment for filmmaking. Furthermore, some of it will also be used to further develop the skills of my students, as well as to support our conduct projects that aim to ensure and maintain the safety and cleanliness of the bodies of water in our place, especially Alaminos City, Pangasinan, that is considered as a coastal area.
How do you see film as a tool for communicating science and the topics that you teach to your students in class?
So for maximizing the God-given skills and talents of my student in filmmaking, we aim to educate and increase the awareness of people through our film, showing that people are experiencing in their daily lives and we might experience the future, and we will not conserve and use water properly based on interviews and research. We try our best to transform the complex ideas regarding water into more comprehensive scenes to engage the audience emotionally, for them to make action and raise their voice regarding water.
That's great. Thank you so much. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to share about your students? Maybe wish them, congratulations or luck virtually here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So before I end this, I would like to take this opportunity to give thanks and recognize the hard work of my students who wholeheartedly accepted the challenge of making our NP films. To their ever supportive parents for allowing their children to attend the shooting despite of the pandemic, and for giving their trust to me. And of course, to the Alameda City National High School Administration and Alameda City Division for giving their full support and for lending us the film equipment. It is a great honor and experience to represent our school and our country, the Philippines, with you an international film festival. Once again, on behalf of my student, the school administration of Alameda City National High School and the Alameda City Division, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the members of the Let's Talk About Water Film Festival and the Global Institute of Water Security of giving us this opportunity and platform. This competition has indeed helped us develop our skills, especially in filmmaking, and be more mindful of the water around us. It has been a worthwhile experience. Thank you very much, and mabuhay.
Hello, my name is Maria Uzunova-Dang. I'm calling from Pearson College, UWC, on Chiano Beecher Bay First Nation land and waters. My role at the college is the Experiential Education Coordinator and Climate Justice Education Lead. And two of our students, Vigo and Aryan, produced and recorded a film called Canaries of the Coast that talks about our local waters here.
How long have you been doing climate justice work?
This is my second year as the experiential education lead, but we're pivoting towards place-based education, and within that, we're really looking at climate justice leadership being the main vehicle through which we educate, and actually being an alternative graduation track for our students that's non-academic and it's experiential and place-based. And next year is our curriculum development year, and we're looking to launch in 2022. So I expect many more collaborations like this one, because the work you do really speaks to some of the things we're hoping to encourage with our students.
That's amazing. Yeah, that seems like a really natural connection and fit. And how many students are in the college? And I'm in the United States, so our grade system is slightly different. So is it all like high school age students or broader than that?
So we have a cohort of 200 students, and they come from over 80 different countries in the world. And yeah, they're here with us for their IB Diploma Year 1 and 2, which it's the 2 years before university. So we call them grade 11 and 12. And this looks differently, but they're 16 to 19-year-olds, an impressive global cohort of youth from around the world.
And do they come physically to campus where you are and stay?
Yes, we have a campus community, and everyone lives on campus. So we get to share and create community over the 2 years that they spend with us in this little corner of the world. And this college has been here for just about half century, and the movement is a little bit older, and there's 18 of these schools around the world.
How did you hear about the film competition and prize? How did your students get involved in it?
As a UWC, and I guess there's many schools, we get all of these propositions, another competition that is there. And I have to say, we're actually quite protective of our students' time, even in terms of opportunity is great, and but we also try to be discerning about which opportunities we pass on to our students. You asked earlier about this has been a wild year with COVID, and one of the kind of unanticipated effects it's had this everywhere around the world, but typically we're a lot more outward facing with the education that we do, and a lot more community facing and community engaged. And this year has really challenged us to really move inward and really become emplaced, and really think about and sit with the location of the college and our relationship to being on that land and being right on the waterfront of the Salish Sea. So when this competition came up on our radar, it seemed to us like an invitation almost for our students to articulate some of those reflections, which are not unique to this year, but in some ways were catalyzed by having to be a lot more local than we would typically be this year. So it went through our scrutinization process, and we thought it was an invitation worth sharing with our students. And
well, thank you. I mean, that means so much to hear that you say that you chose to participate in this, given all the opportunities that come your way and that you have to field. So we're just grateful that they took the time to participate and be a part of it. And we really enjoyed the film. And, I'm wondering for you, and maybe, as an engagement coordinator, I'm not sure how this worked, but did the film project, was it incorporated like into the curriculum directly, or was it just an outside opportunity that they could take advantage of?
I think in many schools there is this idea that there is the curriculum and the students' academics, which is what we do in school, and then there's kind of extracurricular or co-curricular. At UWC, we think of really like 3 types of curriculum. There is the academic curriculum, there's the experiential curriculum, and there's living in community, or the residential curriculum, what it takes for people who are deliberately diverse to come together and share space. So this was very much part of our experiential curriculum, and the ways that students engage with place and engage with experience and try to articulate some of their learning in that sphere.
What was it like for you as, kind of their mentor, supporting them in this project, to watch the students go forward and do some creative work?
I have to say, these are 2 of our students who are drawn to the waterfront, who are drawn to the ocean. We happen to be right here on the ocean. And I remember distinctly during their orientation week, during the orientation to place, putting them both in a boat and then driving out to Race Rocks. It's a marine conservation area which the college helps steward, and just share with them what it means to be stewards of a place and what it means to be stewards of land and water. And I've seen that passion in both of them just grow and deepen. And in my role, I get to be out on the waterfront like 4 out of 5 days a week. And students don't have to do that. Not all students have to do that, but I've repeatedly seen Vigo and Aryan be 2 of the students that prioritize this, that feel drawn to it. And the ability to participate in this and to be a way to celebrate that engagement, which is not required, is not mandatory, it's something they do out of passion and out of really taking advantage and honoring the unique opportunity that they have in living in this place.
So I'm curious how, if you're awarded prize money for this film, how you might see it going to use where you are.
I have to say, as exciting as this program is, in some ways, we are not like a rich, independent private school. We have programs that could be amazing that are constantly under-resourced, and we are having to navigate and balance and negotiate different things. And one area in which I think is having a bucket for student initiatives, not just what the school considers strategic and is willing to support in this year's budget, but really setting aside a chunk of money for supporting student passion and initiative when it arises. And we have so many passionate and genius, brilliant ideas that sometimes it really comes down to the funding. So my vision for any prize money that we might be able to win is to put it aside and protect it to support student initiatives. We have school initiatives like, for example, a Race Rocks curriculum, where students are meant to spend an extended weekend living self-sufficiently in this lighthouse and student house on literally a chunk of rocks in some of the most exciting stretches of sea in this area of the world. And then the student initiatives that come out of that inspiration, being able to support those and say, yes, because of the work that your peers did last year, we have the ability to extend some funding towards passion projects that deepen student engagement and celebrate kind of self-directedness and self-initiative. And in a lot of these things, we're not doing it as homework, we're not doing it as a class project. There's really nobody kind of drawing up the boundaries of what you're meant to do. It's an open field where students push themselves and take initiative around these projects. And that's something I'd really like to encourage and promote, and also be able to support, because just the encouragement by itself and here it is and what do we do with it? We've gotten really good at writing grant applications, but it would be a relief to just be able to do the work a couple of times.
Well, I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time. I feel like you've spoken so beautifully to a lot of what I wanted to ask and hear from you about. Is there anything I didn't ask that you'd like to share or say?
Maybe this is really specific to our context, but I do want to highlight that one of the delightful challenges and deeply critical and political and optimistic challenges is, what does it mean to educate for social justice and ecological justice and climate justice on what's effectively stolen land in a context of settler colonialism. And what does it mean to be a school, an international school, one of these things that are celebrated for what they bring to the world, and at the same time schools have been implicated with, like, honestly annihilating so much of local knowledges and worldviews and lifeways. And for us, the question, not just this year, but I think it behooves us to have this conversation of what does it mean to learn from local lifeways and knowledges, and how can we follow the lead of Indigenous wisdom on these lands. And even in the local language where we are, there is no word for water that's separate from land. It's tanuch, it's land water. And we are the beneficiaries of that stewardship for such a long time. And for our students who really only spend 2 years here, to engage with an appreciation of that. And I was proud of the students for making space in their team to hold up and uplift those forms of knowledge, is really showing their ability and awareness that it is Indigenous leadership that we need to follow in engaging with climate justice and moving away from the kind of environmentalism that is not intersectional. And I think we're very well placed to do that with the diversity of our student cohort, but also with the place in which we live. So in a small way, within the constraint of 2 minutes, and wanting to show beautiful and unique footage, but also like some of the narratives that typically plunge students into despair, like environmental racism and the state of our oceans. What is it going to be that is also going to inspire our students towards critical optimism, that change is possible and that it is within reach, and it requires work of a particular kind to achieve?
It was so great to meet you and like talk about all these things. And I just wish I could go back to high school and then come up to where you are and learn. It sounds like an amazing opportunity, and they're lucky to have you guiding them too.
My name is Roy McConaughey. I'm Professor of Natural Resources and Development at the University of Bath. A lot of the work that I've been doing over the past 20 years or so has been looking at livelihoods, particularly in West Africa. Our film, Green Islands, I'm a co-producer of that with my colleague Simon Worf. Our film is really part of a larger project that we're looking at, funded by the British Academy. We're looking at urban agriculture in Freetown, Sierra Leone.
So my name is Simon Worf. I'm a filmmaker. I work at the University of Bath, and I basically provide a video production service to the university community. So that can take in the whole wide gamut of different kinds of briefs and jobs. But one of the best things I get to do is to work with guys like Roy, who have this really interesting and amazing research that they're doing, and basically work alongside them to create films that can bring this research to wider audiences.
What was the process like for filming, editing, creating, all of that?
One of the great things about our relationship is that Roy has a photography background as well. So what that means is when we're in the field, we can essentially double up on the filming.
Mm-hmm.
For this film, we went out there, both of us, with this Sony A7 camera, which is like a mirrorless camera, similar to a DSLR, and very portable camera. So essentially the two of us could go to these environments, and we'd both be filming on different lenses, just to kind of give a bit of a variety between the two things. Mm-hmm. In regards to the editing, we didn't edit during the project as such, but what we would do is every evening back at the hotel, we would review what we've got, go through the footage, go through the interviews as best as we could. I mean, we have to get them translated, but we have an idea, and we know what the participants have been briefed to say, not to say, but in terms of the interview, we know what the interview is going to entail. But yeah, go through the footage every day and just make sure we're ticking off what we need to get, essentially. And then when we get back to the UK, that's when we really start getting stuck into the footage.
I think one of the challenges, though, is as you'll see from the film, that most of the dialogue is in Creole, the local language, the lingua franca, which I can speak a little of. I've been working in Sierra Leone for the past 18 years now, so I picked up some of it. But yeah, that sort of added a whole other dimension to trying to sort of each evening when we were reviewing film, seeing what we had and thinking about where we wanted to go the next day. And I think our approach to the filmmaking was really inspired by ethnographic filmmaking. So the film was really about letting local people express themselves and tell their own stories in their own voice, rather than us sort of, having the voiceover that sort of shapes, dramatically what the story is about. It was much more sort of organic almost. We had a lot of support and help from local people in Sierra Leone. We certainly don't claim that we did it all ourselves, but it was a lot of fun working with them as well. So that's been a big part of the film.
What we wanted to do with this film was just to try and get as close to these people as possible. Really, let them talk, and also we filmed material which didn't make the 2-minute edit, but which we will be using. Things like showing them in their domestic situation, how these, what's it like when they go home, and what's it like when they cook their food, cook the crops that they're growing in these farms. What does that look like? And just filling in all that kind of, filling in that world essentially just brings your audience closer to them. But also gives your subject matter their humanity in some respects, because I think that's probably the power of film in regards to when you're working with research material. What film does is it brings the humanity into it.
How do you see film fitting into your research work and as a tool for science communication?
Anyone can click on a link and they'll be willing to watch a film, and film is powerful. Film reaches people, not in ways that academic material cannot. So for me, in terms of impact and shaping the way people think about these issues, film and the film is, all our films are very much about local voices and letting local voices speak. Film has been such a powerful way of doing that.
With this in particular, this competition, producing a 2-minute film is really, it basically becomes almost like a doorway in, I guess, because everyone will watch a 2-minute film.
Right.
So people will engage with the film if it's done in the correct way. If the material is strong and it's put together in the right way, people will engage with it. And so putting together this 2-minute film has been brilliant, really, because it kind of focuses you.
What are you hoping people will, take away from it? What's the central message or call to action?
I don't think there's a sort of magic bullet that's going to solve all the problems, but the first step is really using evidence, and in this case, film, to show people what the issues are and what we really need to think about if we want to improve people's lives, improve their well-being, create healthier, more sustainable environments for them to live in. And yeah, that's a goal. And if we can play a small role in that process, then that's positive, I think.
Just to add to that is the focus of our film is obviously about this very specific situation going on in Freetown in Sierra Leone, but the issue at stake is something that you're seeing across the world. I mean, you only need to look at the other the entries for this competition to see that water pressure, or the pressure on water resources, is something which is universal, really, and potentially is only going to get worse as the impacts of climate change are felt further. So I think it's a film that people will watch, and even though it's as I say, a specific place and time, it's something that everybody can relate to.
And I think the thing with water is too that it's so important because it connects to so many other different livelihood areas. So we've got SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal 6, clean water and sanitation for everyone. Having that feeds directly into the first 3 Sustainable Development Goals. Around poverty, around ending hunger, around having good health. All these things are linked to water. So water is really central, I think, and it was a great opportunity for us to look at some of the issues that we've been doing on our urban agriculture and focus on water. And it's been eye-opening, I think.
Thanks so much to these talented filmmakers and dedicated teachers for taking the time to participate in this year's competition and for taking the time to meet and talk with us about their process. It was so much fun for me to get to learn everything about them and to meet with folks all over the world. And now I'm excited to pass it over to Dr. Jay Familietti. He's the Executive Director of the Global Institute for Water Security and our host of the Let's Talk About Water podcast. He's here today to help announce our winners, the moment you've all been waiting for. Take it away, Jay.
It exists in the furthest reaches of outer space. It is in every cell of your body right now. And it covers over 2/3 of our entire planet. I'm talking about, of course, water. Hi, I'm Jay Familietti. I'm a scientist who's been studying all things H2O for over 40 years, from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to here as Executive Director at the Global Institute for Water Security at the University of Saskatchewan. Talking about water has been my life's work. It's that work that inspired me to create and host the Let's Talk About Water podcast. Through our podcast, we meet with guests and experts and discuss the issues making headlines today, as well as many that should be making headlines, all through the lens of H2O. We just wrapped up our second season and are posting bonus episodes while we begin to produce season 3. If you want to stay connected with us, subscribing to our podcast is a great way to do so. I'm honored to be with you today to announce some of the 2021 Let's Talk About Water Film Prize Award winners. We're going to start by announcing the winners of the Youth Film Prize. The Youth Film Prize is open to all students, ages 10 to 18 or grades 5 through 12, with each submission submitted on behalf of the students by a teacher. Our international panel of judges were given the difficult task of picking the top 20 films that were submitted. Here's a look at the shortlisted films. The winners of the grades 5 to 8 category are, in third place, winning $1,000 Canadian, we have Protect Water, Protect Environment from the Online Learning Center Elementary. In second place, also winning $1,000 Canadian, we have the film Water, Parallel Realities from the Dr. John G. Egnatoff School. And in first place, winner of $2,500 Canadian, the film Bottle, also from the Dr. John G. Egnatoff School. Congratulations, winners. Now, the winners of the grades 9 through 12 category. In third place, winning $1,000 Canadian, the film Let's Indus Try from the Aldershot School. In second place, also winning $1,000 Canadian, the film Canaries of the Coast from Pearson College, UWC. In first place, winning $2,500 Canadian, the film Sacto from the Alaminos City National High School. A huge congratulations to all of our Youth Prize winners. If these films are a glimpse into the initiatives and actions of our future leaders, I know we're in good hands. Now, moving on to our international prize winners. We had over 160 films submitted from over 50 countries. Our international panel of judges were tasked with narrowing down these films to a list of just 20. Let's take a look at that short list for the Let's Talk About Water International Film Prize. so many amazing entries in our international prize category, we've decided to award 7 prizes to filmmakers from around the world. So rather than having just one third place winner, we're having 5, with each of the third place winners receiving $1,000. In third place, we have the following films: 26 Years, Away, Where, My Water, One Drop, and River of Gold. Our second place winner, receiving $5,000, is The Bond of Water. And finally, our first place winner, receiving the grand prize of $10,000, Green Island.
Thank you so much, Jay, for announcing the winners for this year's 2021 Water Film Prize. And thank you to all of you for tuning in and for joining us for this really special celebration. And I'm also proud to announce our Viewers' Choice Award winners for this year. Now, the Viewers' Choice Awards is a little different than the prize winners you just saw. This is a fully democratic process that we made open to all of the films that were submitted this year. So, without further ado, our Viewers' Choice Award winner for the International Prize is Water Scarcity at the University of Nigeria. And your Viewers' Choice Award winner for this year's Youth Prize is TIDTED. It's from the talented student team at Alaminos City National High School in the Philippines. We also want to take this time to recognize the honorable mentions from our International Prize and Youth Prize categories. In the Youth Prize, we would like to recognize Water Crisis in the Middle East and DRIP. And in the International Prize, we would like to recognize Let Water Talk and Ice Receding, Books Receding. Thank you so much to these filmmakers and to all of you again for being here with us today and throughout this challenging but exciting year in the world of film.
As a hydrologist, I've seen the really dire need for communicators who can talk about water in a way that not only informs, but inspires. We need work that inspires the public to take action for our water crises, and these films really hit the mark. I'm so pleased that the Let's Talk About Water Film Prize can provide a platform and an opportunity for scientists, activists, students, and filmmakers to be a part of the solution. We hope that the prize money award can fund future projects that can keep us talking about the future of our planet's water and why we should care. I hope to see you all next year. Thanks so much, everyone, and congratulations.
Prime Minister Trudeau vowed to end drinking water advisories on Indigenous reserves by March 2021. That didn't happen. Niskantaga First Nation has had unsafe water for 26 years.
Water, clean and cold.
A clear running tap in America is highly deceptive.
Just what do you mean?
Think of the water we drink as more like a stew, flavored by the substances we casually pour down our drains and the unbridled runoff of our farms and our machines. There simply is no away to which things can be thrown without them eventually coming home. In U.S. tap water, more than 160 unregulated contaminants linked to cancer and infertility exist widely, without any legal limitations. Because in many communities, especially in rural areas, water treatment facilities are outdated, overloaded, and underfunded. Their effectiveness based on what can be achieved cheaply. And as a result, people all across the country are chronically exposed to what slips through the cracks. A continuous, subtle stream of poison.
In the long term, everybody loses, and that's the tragedy.
It's possible to imagine that our solution will come from rapid innovations, or the rise of a new leader or political party run by altruists and geniuses.
I say tonight, as I have before, I am sorry and I will fix it.
Or perhaps it's better to renew your own view of water as something more precious. Put pressure on elected officials to review the best and latest scientific evidence, and then define water quality goals that will actually protect our public health. And invest in a filter. Because there is a collective rumbling in American tap water, and it won't be pleasant when your health turns suddenly for the worst.
The turn away the walk away and one can up where come up play wakati I carry chair. Then party and 1 house now you see. All na be bush. It clean. Crab then they other half bende, they kokule with the car, with the brook, with the was, with the swim. Nothing no they do with the swim, not cocoa, no they come out safe like body. From since where see this war become, where people then cut out, then can't free tongue. All manner they go up the hill, they brush stick, cut stick. From that time now where the war pass, this water don't change. Now the people are now waiting then at the water from up, take and down. Some man they book, some man they cow dirty, they throw away. If it's a for the mass under, we foot the pull on it. Then we foot the all the pull there, there's half to go there. The water back hold the water. We know if now this water hold the water with 9 the poorly places we know. Some people then come out because of the water where they come on there. Some people where themselves they then they be out because of they not get sight for good.
Ndinonzi ropafadzo mupinga, ndinobva kugweru Zimbabwe.
Ich heiße Christian und ich komme aus München, Deutschland.
I'm Ellie from New Zealand.
Eu sou a Laura, do estado de São Paulo, do Brasil.
مرحبا أنا لما عايشة بكردستان العراق.
My name is Ian and I live in Maryland in the United States.
Mi nombre es Verónica de Sacedón, Guadalajara.
Сайн байна уу? Намайг Пүрэв Дулам гэдэг. Би Монгол улсад амьдардаг Улаанбаатар хот.
And this is my water.
Und das ist mein Wasser.
Amo ini amon tubig para sa balay.
Esta é minha água.
وهي المية اللي بشرب.
And this is my water.
Энэ бол миний усаа.
Esta es mi agua.
Although access to safe drinking water has improved in the past 2 decades, the struggle to ensure that everyone has their water needs fulfilled is far from over. And how long does it take to collect drinking water?
Kuti ndiwane mvura ndinotora 5 seconds.
5 Sekunden.
Halin sa balay, 10 minutes ako lakton pakadto sa bubon.
Eu levo 6 segundos.
20 seconds.
3 ل4 دقايق.
6 seconds.
Me lleva unos 10 minutos.
За би ус авахд 10 минут зарцуулдаг.
And why is water so important?
Mvura yakandikoshera nekuti ndinofarira kuona zvirimwa zvichikura.
Ang tubig importante sa mga tanom pagtaong panimalay sa bukid.
Um meine Zähne zu putzen.
مية كثير مهمة لإنتاج الغذاء يلي نحن بنحتاجه.
E a água hidrata muito.
Because I can make my tea in the morning.
Canta refrescarme en verano.
Цэвэр ус надад маш чухал. Яагаад гэвэл цэвэр ус миний эрүүл мэндийн үндэс болдгоо.
It doesn't matter if you live in the United States, the Philippines, or Mongolia, water matters equally to you and to those around you, near or far. So value it, protect it.
According to UNICEF, 1 in 5 children globally does not have enough water to meet their daily needs. Whilst the impact of water scarcity can be felt by all, no one suffers more than the most vulnerable children. Each child deserves access to safe drinking water. They deserve a safe future and a happy life. Not a life spent searching for water day in and day out, instead of them reading their school books. Water crisis is not just a problem for the poor, it is a fight for everyone. Many people die from water-related diseases than any form of violence or war. To save the future of our planet, we need to save what we have now. one drop at a time.
Ang sapa sa nabok, dako yung bilin namo. Galigo mi diri o ang tubig ginagamit namo sa matag adlaw. Nabag-o jud ang tanan sukad nga nakakita sila gold diya sa Mount Diwata.
'80s ang panahon na grabe jud ang pagmina og gold. Bata pa ko, nidako ka ng bukira, tanan klase sa tao nakita na ako nagkinuha ay og gold. Dagaya gyud ang mga tao, daghag gold, daghan gyud og kwarta.
Pagdagan sa pamulawan diha, gadaghan pod ang chemical nga gasubay sa amuang sapa, sama sa cyanide ug mercury.
Ang mga tao, busy kay sila pagpangwarta. Ang mga sapa, naapektuhan na sa mga kemikal. Pero, wala gyud nila gitagad.
Nilubog ang sapa, di na may kaligo, ang todwa na gyud na uli eh.
Sa akong hinumduman, 1990s, nihinay na ang pamulawan sa Mount Diwata.
...2021 na. Pero ang epekto sa kahakog sa tao sa Bulawan, makita gyapon. Daghang minero ang niundang, pero nagpabiling hugaw ang sapa. Unta mahimo ning warning nga walay kantidad sa kwarta og gold ang muluwas ato kung mahurot ang tanang limpyo nga tubig sa kalibutan.
Bawat lakbay, unti-unting dumadaloy ang kaisipang lumipas na ang mga araw na sagana pa. Ang ginhawa sa bawat inom, sa bawat buhos sa pagligo at bawat mumog sa pagsipilyo, sa pagluto ng pagkain para malinis ang hihain. Di na lang, di na lang, di na lang. Kay sarap alalahanin. Ng mga bagay, ng mga bagay, ng mga bagay na di akalaing mawawala sa ating kamay. Bawat tulo, bawat agos, bawat daloy, bawat tulo, bawat agos at bawat daloy, parang naging isang bula. Nagising na lang na lahat. Nagising na lang na lahat ay kapos na.
Sa dulo'y wala pa rin, naglalaot na ubos, hindi na ba magbabalik ang kahapong dumadaloy, ang tubig na ninanais.
Unti na lang. Unti na lang.
Hello, I'm Alex. I live in a water-secure country and use 2,717 liters of water a day. Hello, I'm Alan. I live in a water-scarce country and use 34 liters of water a day. We often forget how lucky we are and how much water we use. We must remember about people living in water-scarce countries and start saving water. There are stark differences in the amount of water resources each country has. All the water we consume comes from less than 3.5% of all the water in the world. What you saw is the parallel realities of water. So on behalf of everyone in the world, please, conserve water.
I trust that the tale of the Lorax is a story you all know, but have you ever wondered how the rest of it might go? The Onceler gave the boy a seed, in hopes he'd bring back the truffula trees. And so the boy planted the seed with care, tried to give it clean water and feed it fresh air. But the water was dirty, and the air was not fresh. It seemed the Lorax and his friends may never come back. What's wrong with the water? What was the problem, you ask? Well, it seems the Onceler never let go of his needs, and instead turned to water to cover his needs. The extraction was cheap and the world didn't care, so the Onceler used water everywhere. In plastic and denim, in tires and food, an influx of profit was all that ensued. He never once stopped to consider the fact that his reckless ideas might have an impact. In Willow Lake, the fish have all died. It was so full of pollution it could no longer provide. The birds will soon follow, for they cannot survive the buildup of chemicals we've used to thrive. In Indonesia, the water they need to drink and stay clean is full of danger and disease. Their children will die and food grows scarce unless we step up and begin repairs. Indigenous people lost their culture to provide a profit for others. Paper mills dumped waste into the lake, but never spoke of the damage it would create. And what of the children? The toxins are changing their behavior, making school harder than it should be. Is this how we want them to grow up? It's not too late. Water affects us all, and it's time we start to value it. That starts with our industries. Let's change laws, not light bulbs. Let's fight for clean and healthy water.
Located on the southeastern tip of Vancouver Island lies Pedder Bay. At first glance it looks pristine, yet the illusion is shattered when we go below the surface.
Historically, the bottom of the bay has been covered in seagrass meadows that stabilize acidity and draw carbon dioxide from the air. The creek feeding into Pedder Bay even supported a salmon run once. With the construction of a marina, a navy base, and sewer outlets, the bay has turned into a mud pit. All that's left are undersized clams, sick crabs, and a long-dead salmon run. Pedder Bay is a microcosm of a trend seen all along the BC coast and in the world.
With the arrival of colonial policies regarding how we treat our waters, ecosystems like the seagrass meadows are disappearing. As the Canadian government talks of reconciliation, we are still pumping sewage into the ancestral territories of the Coast Salish First Nations, and finding metals like cadmium in the bottom sediment, as is the case in Pedder Bay.
By actively diminishing the water quality, we are destroying the ecosystems that Indigenous communities like the Shawnee First Nation have historically depended on. As settlers benefiting from stolen land, we must reconcile with the land that so many of us unrightfully occupy in what we call North America. For years, Indigenous commercial fishers like Ellie Kinley of the Lochmish Nation have heard what Reuben George of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation calls the canary in the mines. To address intersectional issues such as declining orca populations, we can look to Indigenous scientists like Dr. Andrea Reed of the Niska Nation, who is leading the Center for Indigenous Fisheries to aid in the protection of culturally significant species through an interdisciplinary lens.
For those who have suffered the effects of depleted water quality for years, and for the people all over the world who depend on the ocean, we urge you to consider your impact and advocate for the protection of water.
It's time to take action. Get in contact with policymakers, educate yourself and support Indigenous communities, or at the very least, be more conscientious of how you engage with the ocean. So let's talk about water.